Welcome back, folks. To continue from the last segment on the new WikiLeaks email dumps, they're showing how Hillary Rodham Clinton really feels towards everyday Americans. She hates us and benefits from a dumb populace. Politico and the Wall Street Journal are busted with rigged polls to help, you guessed it, Hillary Rodham Clinton. Also, a New York Democrat election official is on hidden camera admitting left-wing voter fraud, bussing in people and taking them to multiple locations. Again, these are things that we've suspected, pretty much confirmed, but now we know for a fact that these things are happening. We've got people on hidden camera, election officials, actually saying that they bus in people to different polls to get them to vote multiple times. But there's no voter fraud.
There's voter fraud has become commonplace. So
and acceptable.
But it doesn't even seem to bother anybody. And the only way you can get a counterpoint going is if you have a competitive media. You don't have a competitive media in this country. Just like in Moscow, you got two major...
Pravda
and Izvestia. Germany, you had the Völkischer Beobachter and the Stürmer. And those are the only things you could read. So people say, well, if it's said in those papers, it must be the fact. Sometimes we have a tendency to put too much basis on people's understanding of what's going on.
Well, that's an excellent segue, because that's another one of the leaked emails that shows between Podesta and Clinton that says our campaign benefits from a dumbed down populace. And that's exactly where you were going with that.
Absolutely, but these are just facts. Part of that is the fact, I'm not going to get into the cultural changes that have happened, although they've been unbelievable just in the last 20, 30, 40 years. People aren't reading books anymore. Remember the Encyclopedia Britannica? That doesn't exist. There's half the bookstores around that were there 20 years ago, and 10 years from now there'll probably be half of the ones that are there today. The colleges teach left-wing socialism, if not outright communism.
Yep, it's been shown, a new report shows 12-1 left to right professors.
And if you are a student that wants to stand up and say what he believes, and has the courage to argue with a professor, they'll flunk him, and he won't be able to graduate. That's what we've got. This is the way dictatorships develop. We are now in an evolution to a dictatorship type of government in this country. I said it before, and I'm saying it again with emphasis.
I almost feel like we're watching the Harlem Globetrotters versus the Washington Generals. You know exactly how it's going to end up, but you still go to watch the theater anyway.
Well, let's say the two of us talk about these things off air, on air. You are more excited about these. You remind me of myself 30, 40 years ago. Maybe that's because of our age difference. But I've gotten to the point where I say, I will stay with things that I can do something about. I'm not going to get myself aggravated about history repeating itself. That's exactly what I'm seeing in my lifetime. I'm seeing history repeating itself.
But what you're saying is not American history. You're saying America repeating history that you've seen from your German background.
Absolutely. That's exactly correct. And it's happening all over the place. Can you imagine any country with half a brain opening their borders to people that are there to destroy them? And then the media says, no, we should. And Hillary, who is on her way to the presidency, is saying one of the things she's going to do is open up our borders. She's going to do what Angela Merkel is doing to Germany, which is destroying Germany. And in a way, I'm saying, they've learned their lesson. They got rid of the Jews. They put them in gas chambers, and look what they got in return.
And it's interesting that we're going to bring in tens of thousands more refugees, and there's more leaked emails that show that Hillary Clinton knows for a fact that jihadists are coming in.
Of course
and
they
she
are.
said that it's impossible, nearly impossible, to vet these people, but yet the majority of Jewish Americans who will be the first ones to be thrown down a well and get their throats slit or their heads cut off or drowned in a basket are supporting this. It's unbelievable to me.
Well, it's a long story. They haven't had the experience that I've had. I have nothing to do with most of those people because I don't want to argue with them, because you know what my basic catchphrase is, everybody's entitled to my opinion. And as long as they understand that, and you want to argue with my opinion, that's fine. I don't want to hear. I know exactly why a lot of American Jews are Democrats. You know what goes back to 1930s when there was...
Is it guilt?
No, part of it is guilt because they didn't do anything for their compatriots in Europe, no question about it. Basically, if you go back in 1930s, there were hotels, there were different places that wouldn't allow Jews in. Jews were treated almost the way blacks were.
You're talking about America?
Yes, in America. But a lot of these people, and they usually come from the Eastern Europe, Poland, where they were really terribly maltreated. Before the Nazi Germans became a factor. And consequently, they feel that the Democratic Party was a party of socialism where everybody was equal, and they would find the kind of camaraderie and equality that they could never find in the Republican Party. And
so if we're all miserable, at least we're all equal.
Yes.
If we're all poor.
Well,
and
they didn't.
miserable.
No, they would say most Jews were socialists for the purpose of thinking that by socialism everybody would be equal because they had this, like a lot of people thought, that the only people that make money are the people that steal it from the poor people.
So back in 2012, Mitt Romney made a statement. He said that half of the country
47%.
we're not going to vote for him anyway. And you'd have thought that that was the equivalent of saying he wanted to kill half of 47% of the country. Now, Hillary Clinton says in her email to John Podesta, or vice versa, John Podesta to her, that she hates everyday Americans, and yet it goes unchecked.
She called them deplorables.
Well, that's one thing. That was on speech. But this new email that has just come out recently in the last couple of days shows where she actually said she hates everyday Americans. Now, they're trying to spin it to say she hates the term. She wants to use ordinary Americans instead. They'll spin anything.
When you're in a power position, you can explain everything away. When you're not in a power position, the wisest statement you can make will not be accepted as fact.
So you feel that any of this is going to make any difference? Any of these leaks, any of these emails, any of these admissions?
No. I think things have swung too far the other way. That all these things having to do with emails and Benghazi and what's the difference and the lie about the movie against Muslims that some crackpot made in Chicago and sending out the delegate to the United Nations or saying that it had nothing to do with the fact we didn't have any people defending our
embassy?
And that was not an embassy in Benghazi, it was the Consul General's office. And these people were begged for help and support. They could have even gotten it because they had some...
Or the Iran deal, or the Muslim Brotherhood takeover of Egypt and Libya.
And
or
what
the
about the
overthrow of
money, the
Gaddafi,
$400 million that they...
the ransom money?
But you see, again, what I'm saying is when you are in a position of power and you're in charge and you've got the communications media on your side, no matter how bad these people are doing things against what's in the interest of the nation, it doesn't make any difference anymore.
Now, I got to think that even a progressive liberal can't be so foolish that they think that open borders, sanctuary cities, and allowing tens of thousands of jihadis into the country is a good idea. I just can't accept that they're that ridiculous
I do.
or that foolish. You believe that?
Yes, I do.
They're that stupid?
Yes. It's not a matter, they think of themselves, they live in fine houses. If they're rich enough, they can have security. It ain't going to affect them. So they're in charge. They're in a power position now. And if if thousands of people have to suffer accordingly, so be it.
So it doesn't affect them in the fact that a random jihadi attack like in San Bernardino or an Orlando nightclub or whatnot has no effect on any of these people?
That's the way I feel.
And until it does, until they feel the pebble in their shoe, they don't care?
You answered your own question very well.
Well, I'm not happy with the